We're having this press conference because it is clear that we are at an impasse with the provincial government here in Saskatchewan. We made an offer 1 week ago to the day, and our proposal was very straightforward. It wasn't anything aggressive. Our proposal was that our members receive pay increases consistent with the rate of inflation. So in some of our bargaining units that have been working without a collective agreement for 2 years, we proposed lump sum payments that would just cover inflation protection. And for the collective agreements that have recently expired, we proposed wage increases that are consistent with our members keeping up with the rate of inflation. So we proposed wage increases of 2% a year. And like I said, for the years that have gone by, we proposed lump sum payments. Now, what we proposed is less than, frankly, what the members of Parliament gave themselves. We're working for Crown corporations that made over $400 million in profits last year. If you can imagine, SaskTel made $127 million in profits last year. And the government is forcing them, and I'm being specific, and I'm emphasizing this. The government is forcing the Crown corporations, including SaskTel, to offer us 0% in the first year, 0% in the second year. We had Angus Reid just did a poll here in Saskatchewan. 89% of those that participated said that the workers, as a minimum, should get wage increases consistent with the rate of inflation. So it has been 1 week since we've made our proposal, and we have heard absolutely nothing from the Crown corporations and clearly from the government. So this is a standoff, and it's something that, frankly, the corporations are powerless to fix. Because we have the government on one hand saying, listen, we're not getting involved in the collective bargaining process. But then they're mandating the corporations to give us 0 wage increases in the first 2 years. So you can't have it both ways. So the Scott Moe government can't say that they believe in free collective bargaining and they're not going to be a part of the solution, yet they are clearly a part of the problem. So we have a situation where the government is saying, listen, everybody's being mandated the same. Well, it's not true. Because Scott Moe just gave himself a 2.3% wage increase, and our members are told that they have to accept nothing, and we're not going to accept nothing. So this press conference is being held 9 hours prior to our deadline. We had our members go to work all week, work the rule. We were expecting that common sense would take some sort of precedence in the mind of the government. But that hasn't happened. So we went to work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and enough is enough. Because if the government is going to disrespect us, then we have no option but to pull our resources tomorrow and start a full-scale strike at the Crown corporations. I'm saying this candidly with total disbelief. I can't believe we're in this situation. I can't believe we're in a situation where we have Crown corporations that are doing so well and want to bargain with us, and we have a government, and Scott Moe's government is saying to the corporations that they can't bargain with us. So that's why we're here today, and that's why we're going to be on the picket line tomorrow, because the government is going to be a part of the solution, or they're going to continue to be a part of the problem. They can't claim a hands-off approach while they have their hands all over this dispute. So if there is a dispute tomorrow morning, which it appears there will be, Scott Moe is going to have to look at himself in a mirror and explain to himself how he can take a 2.3% wage increase and expect our members to take zeros. Yes, we are Crown corporations. Yes, our members are public sector workers. But they get their paychecks from the Crown corporations. They're not getting their paychecks from taxpayers like Scott Moe is. So ultimately, our members just want a fair deal. We're not asking for outrageous increases. And like I said, all we are asking for are increases consistent with the rate of inflation. And any government that wishes to govern with the dictates of common sense must agree that our proposal is fair. The citizens of Saskatchewan believe it to be fair. We believe it to be fair. The Premier is going to have to get his head around it, because the question becomes, for every day we're on the picket line, there will be less revenues to the Crowns and less revenues for the province than it would cost for the life of this entire collective agreement. So why a government would choose to lose more money and profitability in a day than it would cost to pay the increases makes no sense. A 2.3% wage increase, for example, at our members at SaskTel will cost a company $5 million a year. They made $127 million last year. We're looking at the bargaining table. We're looking at the companies on the other side, and it's clear that they want a deal, and it's clear that our proposals are fair. The question is, why is the Premier provoking this dispute? And that's why I'm here, because I just can't understand it. I can't understand a Premier that is provoking a dispute when the parties can reach a settlement as long as there's no interference. So with that, I will open it up to questions.
So are you going on a general strike tomorrow amongst all your members?
Yes, members at all of our locations will be on strike tomorrow morning.
So that's all 5,000?
Correct. 5,000 workers will be on strike tomorrow morning.
You said that there's still 9 hours theoretically before your deadline elapses. Just based on the state of the relationship right now, what are the chances of an 11-hour deal coming together?
Well, we can have a deal in minutes. This isn't complicated. I mean, there's still some non-economics that are important, such as the incredible amount of outsourcing to contractors that are in our facilities. We need to get our head around that. But the economics will take minutes. So we're here. My team has been here all week. I'm here for a solution. I'm not here for a fight. But ultimately, it takes two to tangle, and you can't get an agreement if you're playing solitaire.
You talked about the lump sum payments for those bargaining units where contracts have elapsed. What are the value of those lump sum payments you're asking for?
Well, it's a total of 4% over 2 years of your salary. So of course we
The
have.
equivalent of in a lump sum.
So for example, you got it. We have members at Securitech that make anywhere between $18 and $23 an hour. So their lump sum payment is not going to be significant. If you take a look at our members at the higher end of it, it varies, but clearly it's not significant. And like I said, all we are talking about is the rate of inflation.
Have you heard anything from the government up to this point? What's the last week been like for you guys?
The government has said nothing. They're sending the company to deal with us to say we can't do anything because the government is mandating the company to do nothing. So the companies are frankly as frustrated as we are. They see this as a dispute that doesn't need to happen. And I think if they would speak publicly, which of course they won't, they will tell you that this is a dispute caused by the Premier of Saskatchewan. And they can't understand the logic behind this as we can't.
Is there any indication as to why the government is telling companies to do it?
I have no idea. I mean, you're going to have to ask Scott Moe why he's telling our members that have produced over $400 million worth of profits in the last year that they have to take nothing. I can't explain it, and he hasn't explained it to me. I sent a letter to him saying, let's have a discussion, and he sent me back a letter saying, sorry, Jerry, I don't get involved in collective bargaining. It's kind of like the old wizard behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. He's pretending that he doesn't exist, but he's playing no role, but the simple reality is he's behind the curtain calling all the shots.
Are there any talks even tentatively scheduled for the weekend or the weekend?
Nothing.
You said you submitted a proposal a week ago. Was that the last time you talked to any representatives?
We had a brief discussion with some of the companies that have said they took back our proposal, and they were frankly enthusiastic because they thought it was a fair proposal and came back and said, look, our hands are tied.
And that was a week ago.
That was a week ago.
What kind of strike pay are you able to offer to your members right now?
$300 a week.
With that kind of support, how long do you think that your members would be able to hold out for?
Well, we're a large union, And when we get into major disputes, the locals around the country also pinch in. But we're hoping that we get this thing settled tonight. I'm not talking about the length of the dispute. I'm talking about how quickly we can get a settlement, because that's what I'm preoccupied with today.
What is your message to employees that might, not be able to get by on that kind of money and consider crossing the picket lines?
Well, first of all, we expect that they won't cross the picket line. I mean, nobody wants to be a scab. Nobody's going to go into their workplace once the dispute is settled, because it will get settled. Nobody wants to be that person that crossed the picket line and the rest of their coworkers look at them and treat them, with disdain because of what they've done. Scabs are probably the most despised group of people that can, be in a workplace. And people have long memories.
Has there been any talk then of union members crossing the picket lines?
No, one of the employers put out an email to their members saying that they can cross a picket line, but no, our members have no intention of doing that. They understand, frankly, that this dispute is caused by the premier. And we've done everything we can to settle this. It's not as if, we're being irresponsible. It's not as if we're asking for the moon and the stars. It's not as if we're being aggressive. We're just here saying, look, this is a common sense proposal that we made, and we're just shocked that somehow somebody's sitting on their throne saying, I made a royal writ and I declared that regardless of the profitability of the company, we will do nothing because I have made that decision. Not happening. We're not accepting it.
Have there been many situations where people have put in their resignation ahead of this strike because they can't afford to be on strike?
No, we haven't had any of that. These are decent middle-class jobs. I mean, our members want to work. Our employers want them to be at work. Why the premier is taking the position that he is baffling, I would expect, to everyone.
What about people maybe close to retirement who decided to retire as opposed to?
I haven't heard of any wholesale retirements. I think people were expecting that there would be a settlement. I don't think anybody really expected this. I didn't. I expected we'd get a deal. Listen, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I know how to get a deal. Right now in our union, we have almost 320,000 members. We do not have one labor dispute going on in this country, not one. We have 3,000 collective agreements from coast to coast to coast. We know how to get a deal, but we need somebody to bargain with. And the only people that we're dealing with are people that are looking us in the eyes and say, I can't do anything.
I know you were doing picket line training today to get some of your members ready. Can you just give me a sense of what that involved and further what things are going to look like tomorrow downtown?
Oh, there's no question. We'll have massive picket lines set up outside of all of the operations. We're starting the process of organizing the picket times. We're going to start to sign people up for strike pay. So that's going to be time consuming, of course, but we're getting right at it and we'll have it organized very quickly. But everybody understands what the role is tomorrow.
How many people do you expect to see out there tomorrow?
There'll be 5,000 people on the picket lines tomorrow,
And what time will you be starting?
7 a.m.
Do you know how the essential services plans will affect your members at all?
Well, the essential services plan are really structured to make sure that, citizens, the citizens of Saskatchewan, that the real essential services, that nobody's going to be, harmed as a result of it. Like, we don't want kids. We want to make sure that kids have, proper, safe drinking water in their schools. So we want to make sure. So that type of stuff that's understood and basic, and we support that. But by and large, if you have a problem with your internet at home, that's not an essential service.
Do you know exactly which services are essential in all of these crowns?
Well, it depends on the different crowns. It's a pretty lengthy list, so to go through it would be
Mostly got energy.
mainly.
If both parties get called to the table tonight and negotiations go long, you still plan on the strike action and everything starting at 7 tomorrow, or are you going to postpone that?
First of all, I need a phone call. So the plan is to get a deal. If we're bargaining through the night and we're on the cusp of an agreement, then we will make the decision at that time, and I'll make the decision in conjunction with dialogue with the bargaining committee. So I'm not going to make it unilaterally. But clearly, if we're heading towards a settlement, then we'll likely make a decision that makes sense. No question about it.
We heard that SaskTel offered its employees a raise separate from other union members. I'm just wondering if this has any merit.
No, I wish. The only people who will be getting wage increases over and above Scott Moe's mandates will be the non-bargaining unit. You see, since 2007, our members have received 11% increases in their wages, 11%. The senior management have received increases of 107%. The frontline supervisors have received increases well over and above any government's mandate. So the government really mandates restrictions on their unionized workforce, not to those that are non-union.
Have you been in any talks with any of the other crown sector unions like COPE or IBEW to see if they might be willing to join in, because some of their contracts are also expired?
Well, we've had discussions with them, but ultimately they're watching to see what happens here as well. I mean, the IBEW contracts were rejected twice. COPE is in the ratification process. No, excuse me, that's the SGU. Excuse me. They're in the ratification process, and frankly, I would expect that their members will likely vote no. So we'll see what happens with COPE.
Okay, we'll take one last check for questions.
I guess one very last thing, just.
There won't be much happening with COPE right now, by the way. All their staff is on strike.
Right. Sure.
I expect that the staff that work for COPE will receive the same pension plans that they bargain on behalf of their members at Unifor. Our members at Unifor, the COPE staff, all have defined benefit pension plans, and frankly, the employees for COPE deserve the same.
Just how dedicated are you to ensuring that all of your bargaining units get precisely the same deal? Like, is there any chance of a separate deal?
No. Look, we have had collective agreements that have been expired for 2 years, and we brought everybody together because we understand that there's strength in numbers, and we understand that there's solidarity. So we have done this as a collective, and we are going to find a conclusion as a collective. Our members at Securitech make a lot less than others, so we're going to do something a little over and above for them, but we'll stick with the same pattern, and then we're looking for some monies over and above because, like I said, a lot of them are making $18 an hour.
Okay, well, I think we'll wrap it up then, because you never know, maybe Jerry's phone just rang and he didn't get it because he was answering questions. So we want to make sure he's available for the premier. So thanks.
No, it's actually my phone rang. It was Stephen Harper telling me to go get him.
Okay, so we'll wrap that up here, and if, like I said, if anybody has questions, they can contact